Hey everyone, Nathan here from JS Powersports, and today I'm going to show you how to fix a loose steering system. As you can tell here, this bar kind of moves up and down a little bit here. So we're going to go inside and we're going to tighten up the bolt and then tighten up the lock nut on the bottom. This piece here is threaded, so we'll tighten that up a certain degree and then we'll tighten that lock nut at the bottom and get this slap out of here. First off, start by taking out this screw here, this screw here. Underneath here, there's probably a washer down inside there. You don't want to lose that, so make sure this is kind of as level as you can get it, and then just carefully remove that, and then you can pull that washer out. I'll show you here in a second. Okay, I've got both screws removed. I'm going to carefully lift this up and off, and there's that spacer washer. Now, not all of them are going to have it, but if the edges here don't match up nice and smooth, then a lot of times this will be added in there. And next we're going to remove the 4 screws to the steering system here, and carefully move the stuff off the side. You might want to lay a towel down across the ski so you don't bang anything up. Okay, I've got this loosened up here. I'm just going to pull this off of here, and if the bars are stuck in there, you can kind of just give them a tap a lot of times and they'll pop loose. And then take note of where these cables go. This is really important that your cables come up and crisscross inside here and then come back around. That way when you're steering, it goes back and forth. It's nice and smooth. It's not dragging on any of these edges here or whatever. I see people all the time that put this stuff on the wrong side and it's grinding on the sharp edges here, which is not good. So I'm just going to pull this up here. Carefully just kind of lay it right back down. And we've got water in here from yesterday. But this is we're going to loosen this up a hair, tighten this a hair, and then come back while we're holding something on top and on bottom to snug it up. And then we'll have to test it to make sure that we've got it just where we want it. This might take a couple times. Sometimes it's a little tricky to get just perfect. Okay, so we're going to tighten this up a little bit, and then we're going to go ahead and tighten the nut up on the bottom after we thread this bolt in just a little bit further. Now there are a couple bearings in there, and if this thing feels sloppy back and forth and so on, it's most likely your bearings. But it's not uncommon for these to get just a tad loose after their first use. So I'm going to tighten this. These holes do line up with this steering stop plate right here. So you want to make sure that when you're trying to assemble this at the end, that you keep these holes in line. I could actually do this just to try to help a little bit. I could put one of these bolts right on in here before we get too far away here. About 3 or 4 threads on there should be good enough to hold it in place. I'm going to tighten this up. Notice it's trying to turn underneath there too. Okay, just snug a little bit here. Then I'm going to go ahead and pull on this one on the bottom here. And I'm going to need to use 2 hands to do this, but I'm going to tighten this up while I'm holding the top at the same time. I'll be right back. Okay, I've got this snug back up where I think it's good. I'm going to carefully pull these bars back up, put the cables on just the way they were before, and just kind of set the bar in place here. And all we're doing this for, so we have just a little bit of leverage to check how smooth it is and if it's too tight or not. And this is just fine. So, and like I said, you tighten this one first, and then while holding it, go ahead and tighten up the lock nut on the bottom. Once again, this plate here is threaded, so that bolt is threading into here, and then that lock nut's stopping in at the bottom here. So now we're just ready to repeat the reverse to put it back together. And I'll need to set the phone down to do this, but I'll show you in the end here. Okay, now when I tightened these up, I made sure that the spacing here and the spacing here was about identical. And then we've got 4-degree bars on here. So I also set my settings to make sure that these lines were centered up on both sides and that I was on the degree that I like to be on, which, as we know, is 2 lines from the bottom. And then I'll snug this up and put this washer back up here. I've got this laid all the way down. I've got a towel here, And you just want to be careful when you do this so you don't move that and it falls down inside one of these tubes. Now these tabs on both sides here, you may have to pull these apart just a little bit to get this to go on. And my washer's still in place there. I'm going to go ahead and snug this down. There we are. And put this screw back in. Do not over tighten these. If you try to tighten this too much, especially if you don't have a washer underneath there, it can crack right through this stuff. And so you just want to wind it with somewhat of a smooth edge right here. That's why that's spaced up. And then up here, a lot of times this will fall out. So go ahead and put that back in. And then when you're all done, just go ahead and make sure you test everything again. Make sure your start-stop switch is in the correct position that you like it. And you're set to roll. Now if you do need bearings or you want to go to 4-degree bars or different levers or whatever it is, of course we have that stuff at JS Powersports. Just look us up online. And if you find value in our content here, then please hit like and subscribe and have fun skiing.